Hey everybody, thank you so much for joining us today at the Propelio Show. I have a really awesome show for you today. We're going to be introducing you to Anny and Ivo from Phoenix, Arizona. We're going to be talking about how to get some more leads, so stay tuned.
Propelio TV is sponsored by Noble Mortgage and Investments, Batch Skip Tracing, CreativeCashflow.com, and Lifeiner.
All right, guys, so like I mentioned, we have an awesome show today. We're going to be talking about how to get more leads. So we have Anny and Ivo. Go ahead and introduce yourselves and where you're from.
We're from Phoenix, Arizona. I guess the mecca of wholesaling, I think.
My name is Ivo, Phoenix, Arizona. We do wholesaling, fix and flips, and some data things.
I feel like y'all are being really modest.
You have a lot of stuff.
They've built quite a little empire over in Phoenix, that is for sure.
Yes.
I'm Casey, helping out Patina. I'm just here for the conversation.
Yes, my lovely co-host. So we have a lot of things to go over, a lot of questions for y'all, because I obviously this is a question that everybody is always on their mind. How can we get more leads? And it's just so awesome because y'all built such amazing things. So I'm excited to talk about those things today. Okay, so I'm just pulling up my notes because I have quite a bit of notes. So to kind of highlight what y'all have done, I'm going to kind of go over some things that this brother-sister duo has pretty much accomplished so far. They do own a fix and flip company, correct?
Yeah.
And so during that time, they've done over 3,000 municipal contracts. They've done over 200 fix and flips. They have done some new builds. They have about 23 in their renter portfolio, over 250 wholesale transactions, and they just started wholesaling in 2016. So now building, because of all of that, it's kind of brought you to building and creating your own software. So I really want to talk about that. It's really great that y'all are able to come today, fly all the way from Phoenix, Arizona, to pretty much give and to help those of us who are already in the business, but also people that are brand new. Because even like me, of course, we all want to do and get more leads.
Yeah, why don't we, well, if you don't mind, I'd like to just start there, because I think that the backbone to anybody in real estate, I think a lot of people are, they want to learn all the strategies, they want to learn, title, they want to learn all that back end stuff, but what they don't really realize and spend a lot of time on is getting the leads. So why don't you all just kind of explain a little bit how you first started getting leads and maybe how it's kind of involved today, maybe some of the tips and tricks. And one thing I do want to touch on all those municipal contracts. It's still early for me, because that's a super interesting route to go. So I'm going to just give it to you, maybe just how you started and then kind of how it evolved in terms of finding right leads and using data to get there.
Okay, so just a little bit of the backstory, we've done, it was a construction company, my dad's construction company back in the day, 2009, 2010 is when I started working at it. She joined just a little bit after that. And we were working with a lot of just municipal contracts, City of Phoenix, Maricopa County, just different municipalities. And we were just, we had several contracts with them, doing a lot of weatherization jobs, a lot of basic construction jobs. We'd replace AC units for low-income families. Insulations, windows, whatever, just to make the house more efficient. Okay. We've done that for up until 2015, and it's just we've done a lot of them. I mean, it was just day to day, 5, 6, 7, 8 jobs per day, and they just kept adding up and adding up. So it was a great gig for us. My passion is real estate, and I've been doing real estate since 2008 on the side. We've done a lot of fix and flips. So that's how I started, 2008. First house I bought 2008 around March with a buddy of mine. We did all the work ourselves, we split the profits, and I never looked back with the fix and flip side. So from 2008 to 2015, I've done just part-time, honestly, just after 2, 3 o'clock after I get done with my other work, I'd focus on the fix and flip side. So it was mostly part-time for me. 2015 is when I decided to kind of get into real estate full-time. This was my passion. And I started buying a lot more rentals. I started buying a lot more fix and flips. And that's when Anny joined, was it 2015, I believe?
Somewhere around there, yeah.
Yeah, with the fix and flips. So 2016 is when I started buying some properties from the MLS inventory dried up for the most part.
Is that how you were buying in the beginning?
I was buying mostly on the MLS.
So and that's when MLS was still, you could find some decent deals.
Yeah, it was primarily the MLS.
Okay, gotcha.
2016 is when I kind of started like seeing a lot of wholesalers selling properties. I'd buy from a wholesaler, and little did I know, like I had no idea what wholesaling is, assignment fees. I noticed after I had already closed on the property, I was looking at the settlement statement. I see a $15,000 assignment fee, and I see another $15,000 assignment fee on top of that. So I'm like, well, it's $30,000. So it just called the title company, like, what is this assignment fee? I have no idea what it is. So they're like, well, somebody bought the property, is selling it to you. So I called the guy that sold it to me, just asked him some more questions. That's when I kind of realized what wholesaling is.
There's money in wholesaling.
There's money in wholesaling. So I ended up fixing and flipping that property. I still remember the address of it on Roseland by Bethany Home in Phoenix. So I made $20,000 on it. The guy made 15. The other guy made 15. It was just a wholesaler sold it. A wholesaler sold
a little
it to
light
me.
bulb moment.
Yeah. So I'm like, oh, so it took me 5 months to make that money. I took all the risk in for that property. And I had a contract fell through. Another buyer bought it. Anyways, I made money. It was just took me 5 months to get my money back. So that's when I started. I got here like, let's go to Sean Terry's event, just to learn something.
Yeah. And you said you were skeptical at first, right, of the wholesaling thing?
Yeah, it didn't, for me, like I never thought that someone would sell their house for below market value. And that was, I think, even a mind shift for both of us that we had to accept and we had to learn. Mm-hmm. But I think learning that allowed us to, I guess, grow as we
because
have.
I would never sell my house below market value. So I'm like, why would anybody else sell their house below market value? So that was just like a learning kind of shift for us. So from then we never looked back. Everything's been, at first I thought we could do fix and flip and wholesale. I've come to find out it's a whole different business model. Mm-hmm. Didn't think about it at the time, but 2017 we had a lot of fix and flips on the books, and let's do 2018 just focus on wholesaling and just make that our primary goal. So 2018 I think we had only 2 fix and flips on the books, and it was just mostly wholesale.
Now you said in December, was it, of 2017, before you switched strategies, how many did you have on the books for flips?
For flips, we had about 30 going.
About 30,
yeah,
and y'all just went complete 180.
Yeah.
That's crazy.
Yeah, it was a lot of properties for us to manage. I mean, it was a lot of things. We're focusing on the wholesaling. We're not paying attention to the fix and flip. So just a lot of moving pieces.
So after y'all stopped buying from, did y'all completely stop buying from wholesalers and you decided, I'm just going to, because that's kind of how I feel sometimes. I still do buy from wholesalers, but it's nice to get it directly from the seller.
Yeah.
At that point, how did you look for your data? Before you started doing all this on your own, right?
Well,
what did you do?
So everything started from direct mail because that's what Sean Terry taught me. That's what pick this list, just mail it. Don't think about it. Wait for the phone calls.
Don't think
that's
about
what we
it.
did.
I feel like that's scary advice.
Don't overthink it.
Right, don't overthink it. Yeah, absolutely.
Just get it done. So we did that literally 3 days after the event.
What lists were you focusing on in your first mail outs? Do you remember?
I honestly want to say it was tax default.
Probably tax default.
But it was like so it was like properties built after or before 1980 that haven't been sold in the past 10 years.
Right.
That are in tax default.
It's been a long time for
well, I think that's an interesting place to start because not a lot of people would start there, right? Sometimes that data is a little harder to find. So were you purchasing lists from a provider? Or were you doing your own research at the time?
We were purchasing it at that time from Rebo. Okay. It was what we were told. It was the only thing that we knew that existed at that time. So
Rebo and REWW.
Okay.
So those were the 2 list providers we used back in the day.
And how long were you using those service providers until you jumped and did something else?
We still have access to them. I mean, there's a lot of data sources, and I try to I do a lot of split testing even myself on data and how recent the data is, and that's just something that I do. And So I still have access to.
And how much were you spending at that time whenever y'all did the direct mail when you were first starting?
I think it was at somewhere around like 47 cents per postcard.
And how much was your budget per month?
We didn't really have a budget.
We didn't have a budget.
Yeah.
I mean, we just spent it was the first
spent the money.
mail.
I think that's something good to kind of pause on, because that's not a bad way to start. A lot of times you get told, oh, you have to have this amount of money, you have to mail them 7x times, whatever. But a lot of it is just, hey, just go, don't think about it, and see what your return is and tweak as needed. So you don't always have to have a set budget. Obviously, you don't want to overspend, but you have to start somewhere. So I think that's good insight.
Well, I think it's good to have budgets, obviously. I mean,
Yes.
we didn't. I mean, we had some money, like obviously from the fix and flip side. So I was like, let's just throw some money at it and just see what happens with it. Our first mail, I think, was like maybe spent like 5,000 on our first mailer.
We had like 3 phone calls. We bought one house, I believe. It was a house that we barely made any money. Like, we had to do a double close on it, Scottsdale, with the solar panels. So it was like that property. It was a great thing happened. Like, we got a testimony from the first seller that we got. So it was,
and he was a distress seller. Like, that's the first phone call that I found. Like, he was like a distress. He's like, I remember the situation because I went to the appointment. So he's like, hey, I don't want to have anything to do with this house. I got a job offer from IBM and I'm moving to Hong Kong, and I need this house sold. Like, I'm gonna leave everything in the house as it is.
Wow.
So I'm like, great, well,
Awesome.
let's get it done.
Yeah.
And you said you didn't make that much off that lead, is that right?
no, we didn't. After like all the closing costs, and I think we ended up actually getting a hard money loan to like take the property down. I think I want to say we made a little bit above what we spent for the marketing. Maybe say like 6,000-7,000 total, but it was compared to assignment fees now. But being a first one, it was amazing.
You didn't lose, so
No, no,
that's something to
definitely
be said.
not.
And you learn, and that's what I meant on when you're not really sure of a budget at first. You can't really measure your return if you haven't put the marketing out. So a lot of that's just going to come with the trial and error. So did y'all adjust your strategy after that one batch?
No.
You just kept going. Did it get better?
It got better. Like we just kept mailing and mailing, and I don't think we were consistent with it at all. We would mail a lot and then stop for a little and then continue it, but obviously consistency matters. And the fact that we were getting a lot of return mail and just nothing was going really out, I would get I wouldn't say 90, I would say maybe about 30% of the mail pieces back. And I just kept stacking them, and we would try to skip trace them, try to find that motivated seller like you're told to do.
Yeah.
But it was time consuming for us, so we looked for better and more, I guess, effective ways to do that.
At what point did y'all start adding, because initially it was just y'all two, right? When did y'all start adding people to your team?
2017.
Yeah, 2017 around like May, I believe, we started adding some. We got 2 acquisitions, one acquisition, and a couple months after we got another acquisitions.
Okay.
And that's kind of when we started getting like, how do we generate more leads? Because with direct mail, you're sending out X amount of like postcards or letters. We usually send out postcards, but and then you wait for those phone calls to return, and it's kind of hard to gauge how many phone calls you're gonna get. Right. So for us to try to keep our guys busy, we kind of got into like, hey, wholesaling is working. Our friend Brent Daniels, he's like the TTP guy. So. Cold calling. So I'm like, let's look into cold calling. So, we kind of started doing like more of the telecommunications marketing. So we got Mojo Dialer because that's what everybody else was using at the time. Didn't know any better. So we got Mojo. Started buying some data, like the data that I already had. So like Mojo has like free phone numbers. That's like super cool. Like at the time, that's what I'm thinking. So like you have the phone number appends. I'm like, I'm just gonna reverse append the whole county. So they let me just like 50,000 at a time. So I'd be like, I'd like break up my files, the whole county into like 50,000. Try to do phone number. I had 3 cold callers. Then we hired 3 cold callers as well. 3 months later, we had no deals.
3 months.
3 months later, they were calling, just getting some leads. They're getting like, some traction, but there's just like no deals. So I'm like, something's like, I got to change something because something's not working. So that's when I kind of started looking into like better data and then skip tracing more and more. and like what data can I use and what data is actually good.
Yeah, and just to pause you for a second, for those of you that don't know what the reverse append means when you're on a dialer, you might be able to explain it better than me, but it's basically when you upload or you have a certain lead, right? They also look for their database, the numbers as well, right? So
yeah, they look from like free public sources.
Exactly. So Mojo Dialer, I think, was the only one that was doing that really at the time.
Probably that's what I was using only. So.
Yeah, so just in case people don't know exactly what that is, but it's just another source to get that information for skip tracing. So did you think that it was the data that wasn't really returning the results, or the consistency, or a combination of both?
Probably both
of them.
Because we weren't like doing good track of like measuring things. I just know we just weren't getting deals from cold calling. Okay. So that's when I think I kind of even got to know like even Brent a little bit better. So that's when it started looking into like better data, and actually like even from the list side, and then obviously the skip tracing side. And ever since then, I mean, I've learned a ton for skip tracing. So that's when things kind of led to like like batch skip tracing, and I was basically trying to solve my own problem at the time. That's it was a problem for us to try to how do we get the the best quality numbers possible.
So you started with fixing the problem, or at least going in on it, to saying, okay, well, we at least need better data, because obviously either the numbers aren't matching or something. So that was like the first thought. In terms of what kind of leads and lists that you were looking for, is there any point in time you started kind of curating or creating your own lists, or were you still kind of purchasing from other sources?
We were purchasing from a lot of other sources, and we'd like try to like list stack as well.
Also title companies.
Title companies.
Title companies.
Yeah.
How did you use title companies?
We built great relationship with multiple title companies that we use. We ended up talking to their marketing departments and everyone that was in there, and we found out that we can get free lists from, or they also actually charge for some of their lists, but they're fairly inexpensive. And compared to like the lists that are out there for like Revo, for our county at least, there's some of the data is a little bit delayed. So having like a more accurate and up-to-date data is what
That's
I think
a great
helps.
source.
And,
I hope everyone's paying attention.
Yeah, and also like I mean, obviously Propelio. I've used Propelio since I'm not sure when Propelio came out with their data, but we've used it for over a year.
Yeah.
Awesome.
So the data has been always like very up to date.
Good.
Especially probates for
Yeah,
us.
and obviously at least in our county, obviously I can't speak on behalf of other counties, but like for Phoenix, the data is great. It's one
And
of the best.
talking about markets, what markets are you currently in right now?
Right now we're in Phoenix, Tucson, and Orlando.
And we've done a couple of things with you in
Yeah.
San Antonio. So
San Antonio.
Awesome. That's
Yes.
really cool.
Yeah.
So just to kind of continue on the trend of that, because you've kind of thrown out a couple of sources. So I thought it was really interesting to go back to your batch skip tracing, like how that even evolved or started. So you knew your problem was needing better data. So kind of how did you approach that, and what has it evolved into?
So I started contacting a lot of other companies, figuring out the data. I started testing a lot of like different data providers. I had like a set file, and I tested against different companies that I was talking to. And I found several companies, several data providers, connected to the credit bureaus. So that's how we basically, got connected to the credit bureaus and are able to. I figured out how to like get credit header regulated data. So that's how I batch skip tracing came about. I was just trying to solve my own problem, and obviously for us to. And data is expensive. I mean, if you're looking for like good quality data, it's expensive for anybody.
Yeah, we started with TLO, and we were paying like a set monthly fee, and we ended up not even using it because it had to be a manual input.
And they limit you to whatever 300, 500,000. I forgot what the numbers were.
And then after you go to over that limit, it was I think like $2 a search, which it was ridiculous. We had boxes at that time. We still had boxes and boxes of return mail that we were thinking that we were going to skip trace. So if I had boxes of postcards, I'm talking about like the big like bins.
Yeah, I think that with the cold calling and the skip tracing, is it's become a little bit more prominent in the industry. Yeah. What a lot of people don't realize about the services out there, and we ran into a problem where it says unlimited, right? Yeah. And you find out unlimited has a number of 400 to it, or 4,000 or something, and you're
I've broken a lot of those limits.
We have too. So that's a big problem when you're doing such mass quantities. So that's something to consider when you're looking at these services, right? You need to be able to run all of these numbers. So that was a huge problem, obviously, for you guys too.
Yeah.
So you were looking for the better data, looking for the limits and things like that.
Yeah, so obviously trying to drive down our costs, we just, hey, let's create a service out of it. So, obviously for us to try to minimize our costs for it. So that's how batch skip tracing came about. We partnered up with our friend Jesse Burrell in Phoenix. And then we just, honestly, along with that was kind of our first company. So then along with that, we just started doing more and more into kind of like the software. Right now we have 2 full-time developers working for us. We're just building out some softwares for text messages, some list data things. We have like a data company that's, I talked to you about it earlier, about we can start pulling some data like through the credit bureaus as well.
Ringless.
So yeah, ringless. So like all of those things we're just trying to drive down our costs, trying to solve our problems, and just accidentally we honestly got into the kind of the data world of
Accidentally.
things.
That's a good accident.
It really is. About a year ago, that wasn't my plan.
Yeah. So just to kind of highlight, because before we were talking, so you said that with the skip tracing, if you knew that if you did them in bigger quantities, you would get a less cost per hit, correct?
Just like anything.
Just like anything, right? So when you do massive amounts, so you started asking some people, right? You were just like, hey, I'll batch skip traces for you so we can get a better result.
Correct.
And that's kind of how it evolved. Is that right?
Correct.
Hey, partnership is what makes it work, especially in the quantity. Yeah. And what did you get the cost down to when you started doing, it in that quantity at first?
I mean, the costs, are like vary depending on the price and what you're doing. I mean, we have some, people doing it at 18 cents, but at the same time, like people cannot get. I think we provide the best even value for people right now in the industry, just because we're able to just based on volume.
Yeah.
I mean, if anybody's doing like one-off searches, I'm sure I can do it, but it's probably not something not the best service for it. We're just focused more on bulk
and obviously like there are a lot of other companies. The thing that like we are trying to focus on a lot is being the best providers out there as far as like quality data, but also providing like great customer service to our clients, because a lot of times people don't know what files to submit, they don't know how to submit it, and we have a team that will assist them, explain if they have any questions. Obviously there's how-tos, but they'll go into
we try to clean up people's files for them as well, because some people are better at Excel. Some people are better at Excel than others. Some people know exactly how their file is supposed to look. Some people are like, hey, I have this file. What do I do with it?
Yeah. Right. Well, so for some of the people out there that might not be as versed in what it looks like to cold call and all the back end that goes into it, because my husband and I have been kind of tweaking and perfecting a cold calling system for 4 months now, and it's like the never-ending process. Yeah. But maybe y'all could explain to anybody who's watching maybe a little bit of what that back end looks like. So it's not as easy as I have a list, I get phone numbers back, and I put them into a dialer, right? There's a lot that goes into that backside. Can you maybe explain a little bit of that?
Sure.
Like the training portion, or what
I would say like scrubbing the Excels, how the data comes. Like it doesn't have to be super detailed, but I think for a lot of people who might want to be getting into getting these leads, what does that back end look like?
So I'll share how like we do it, like how I do it, because I do a lot of the marketing for our company. So what we do is like first we have obviously the non-owner occupied type of data, which is not very niche, but at the same time it just gives us a lot of like data to call in a lot of people. So we put all of it in like one honestly big bucket, and we do get a lot of niche lists, and literally we just throw it in that bucket on the marketing in the machine. So that's how we do it, and then from that, everything goes for cold calling, SMS, and RVMs. Like that's primarily what we do now. We stopped doing direct mail. Last year in November was our last drop, correct?
Correct, yeah, it was our last scheduled drop, November.
And we actually decided to stop doing it in July. It's just that we had prepaid for a lot of it for like the next 3 or 4 months, the drops. So that's the only reason.
And what's the best channel right now that you're having a lot of success with?
Definitely
as far
texting.
As marketing?
Texting, I've heard that. Well, we've had some better success texting as well. But you have to set that system up.
It's a process.
And texting is a lot more hands-on, I would say, than, for instance, ringless. If you're trying to just get a lot of leads in with doing, like, I guess, as minimal amount of work, I would say ringless is the way to go. But if you have, like, a full-time people to do it, I would say it's going to be...
it took us a long time to learn, I think.
Yeah. And I remember whenever I first meeting y'all up in Chicago, just the first time that I spoke to Ivo, he's like, hey, I need to talk to you. And I was like, okay. He wanted to hit San Antonio market. And so we partnered up in San Antonio.
Awesome.
And he was talking to me about his channel of marketing, and that was texting. And he said, it's really good. Let's test it out. And I was so blown away about, I mean, we were getting leads, you know.
So are you initiating by texting? Does texting come at a different place in the marketing sequence?
So all the systems right now are, there's different systems for everything.
Standalone.
Yeah, standalone systems.
Okay.
We are kind of in the process. I mean, I mentioned to you with, you know.
I won't give your secrets
yeah.
away. They're working on something really cool, and I'm excited for that to be. Maybe we'll have you back to talk about it later. But
yeah, so you know, we're just trying to automate it. Again, I have that issue because I'm using 4 or 5 different systems to accomplish my goals. You know, I'm using all of the you have to have, let's say think RVM. You have to have the RVM. And then the RVM system that I have, just transcribes it, sends it to Gmail. From Gmail it goes to Zapier, and from Zapier it goes into our CRM. So there's a lot of systems, and when one thing breaks, the whole thing stops.
Yeah.
So that's a problem that we're trying to solve as well. But texting, I mean, I've been doing texting since I think started doing it in November 2017, and I've gone through a lot of different systems. I'm trying to create different scrapers and bots and whatnot to try to figure out how to text at a bigger level. And that's when we started doing our own softwares, so that's what we use now. And it's a great marketing channel. I mean, it took us a lot of time. I've refined our scripts maybe, I want to say 8-9 times by now.
right.
Just to kind of get it perfect. And it's never perfect, but it works very well now. And I have 3 VAs that's all they do.
All they do is just that side of things.
All they do is that side of things.
Wow.
That's awesome.
And we're able to get over 1,000 leads per month now.
That's impressive.
That's so awesome. And so, guys, if y'all don't know, and I'm pretty sure I'm going to announce it, that y'all are officially now a new sponsor, so Batch Skip Tracing. So if y'all don't know who they are, yay!
New sponsors, yeah.
Good. So yeah, guys, if y'all need some batch skip tracing, there's some other stuff we're going to kind of dive into after this break. But please, people, share, comment, heart. If you have any questions regarding how to get seller leads, we're going to dive deep more into this conversation. So just make sure you stay tuned.
The Propelio Academy, an all-in-one education resource for training in wholesales, subject to wraps, short sales, flips, rentals, BRRRR, property management, and more. Go to propelio.com/academy to get your scholarship today. Propelio.com. What does Propelio offer? Lead generating websites, access to true MLS comps, off-market lead lists, and deal alerts. Get them all today at propelio.com.
All right, guys, thank you so much for staying with us. So we got a lot of stuff to cover regarding leads, but Annie actually wants to announce a special thing for them.
So if you if you go on to batchskiptracing.com and you enter in a promo code you just enter the promo code Propelio, you guys will end up getting 18 cents per skip trace. So it's something that
18 cents. That's huge, guys. It could be a lot more expensive than that. So that's them. They literally were just like, hey, let's just drop a promo.
Yes.
So take advantage of that and drop it in the comments or not in the comments. They go to the website and drop it in the promo. Propelio, y'all get 18 cents.
If you guys could just give us maybe 15 minutes after the show to set it up.
It literally just happened.
Yeah. That's awesome. I love that. That's awesome that you're able to give that to people. Very cool.
And then too, we also have some giveaways, guys. So there's these awesome hats here. I don't know if y'all can see them. So I'm not sure, how do you want to do some giveaways? Do you want to have people plug in maybe really good questions and then send you a message on Facebook with your address?
Yeah, send me a private message with your name and address.
Okay, and then her name is tagged onto this video, so make sure you share and you follow and you like what they're doing. So yeah, if you want one of these awesome
caps. Make sure you.
So how are they getting it? How are they getting?
You want a question, or
We could do it a couple different ways. if y'all
Question or
want.
a share?
Yeah. So how about whoever shares the most,
Shares, I
maybe?
would say, yeah.
okay.
So if you share this,
Share the most.
and then also if you ask just a really great question that maybe stumps them or something like that,
Yeah.
or whatever, and then they'll be picking some winners from the thread. So just
Perfect.
engage and whatnot, and they'll give away these quotes. Summer's coming, and the pool is coming, and you need a hat
And
for
the
batch
lake
skip tracing.
and everything.
and 18 cents a lead. Promo code Propelio.
Yes.
Awesome. Very cool.
Okay, so I guess going into what are the things you want to talk about?
So, well, for starters, I want to go really quick back because you were talking. So we know batch skip. That's such a tongue twister. Batchskiptracing.com was one of the leads, right? Or was one of the services. You talked about your ringless voicemail, your texting. Why don't you guys drop those links and what those are?
Ringless, so it's ringlessvoiceleads.com is the ringless, the RVM system that we have going. The text message, if you guys want to just shoot us a message, we'll send you that information for it.
Yeah, and again, like with the ringless, same thing. We were trying to like drive down our costs. We were at 5 cents using Slide Broadcast when I first found out about ringless voicemails. And how do I get my costs lower? I mean, I got to just commit to a huge monthly commitment, and that's how I drive my costs down. So the same thing. I mean, ours is the best pricing in the industry. It's 2.5 cents right now. So
2.5 cents for the
per
RVM
job.
drops.
Yeah, per successful job. So obviously it's
per successful drop.
successful drop. Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, that's key.
That is
per
very
successful
key.
drop.
Yeah. So all of these things that you have, the batchskiptracing.com, just skip tracing, ringlessvoiceleads.com, RVMs, textmachinepro.com, SMS blasting. You have coaching program for lead generations.
So that should be our launch date, and we were actually just talking about getting some of our videos edited.
Yeah.
That drop date, we have scheduled it for May 1st.
Okay.
So we're working, we have some beta testers going out right now. Just wanting to...
Yeah, just to give us some feedback and, if anything we've missed, because obviously we've been doing it for a while, so if let's say you go through it and you have some questions, then maybe Stu will have those same questions.
That's on the cold calling coach? Or I'm sorry, what was this?
It's mostly like just the mass marketing approach to just get generating leads. A lot of it is text messages and RVMs, and text messages being the predominant one because it's a new thing in the industry. Not a lot of people know how to do it properly.
Yes. And there's a lot of legality to this.
There are,
and so
there are legalities, and what I've struggled with is just how do I properly flow the conversation, because I have 3 VAs that manage it, and each VA is at a different stage, each lead is at a different stage. When does a lead become a lead, and how do I push leads on a mass scale? It just took us over a year to just honestly master it.
Yeah, so one thing that I just want to kind of pull out of this conversation, just to kind of summarize in that, is we talk about getting more leads, but it's getting the right list and getting the distrels is only one piece of that puzzle. And then you've got the actually reaching them, and then you've got the cost of reaching them, and then you've got the time of return, and all of that stuff. And then there's also the legality of marketing to them. So don't overskip that kind of aspect of it. And so I think there's one more website that you guys have free for people that helps with the legal side, right?
Yeah, litigationscrub.com. It's free. I mean, feel free to use it. So what it does is it's connected to an API for any litigators,
DNC, professional complainers.
DNC people that
do not call.
It's not connected to the national DNC, but it's connected to people that are on the DNC list that have officially made a written complaint.
That's interesting.
And they're called DNC professional complainers.
Yeah.
Oh wow.
Yeah.
I didn't even know that was a thing. I did not know.
Yeah, lawyers and relatives of all of those people that I just mentioned.
So you can go to this website. I've literally never heard of anything like this. So you go to this website and you just basically get who those people are?
No.
Or do
Or
you
how does it
enter
work?
their information? Do you enter a list?
You plug in your list with their phone numbers that you've pulled.
Do you have to do it one by one?
No, it's just
You
it's
just
bulk.
upload the
Exported.
list.
That's pretty
This is
awesome.
amazing.
Yeah,
And
So-
this is something y'all created, right?
Yes.
Yeah, again, we were paying for, what was the company we were using? It was Possible Now, I think it was called.
yeah.
Possible Now. We were paying $500 a month we had 50,000 records.
Plus an initial fee that we had to pay.
It was a big fee that we were paying.
Wow.
And the problem is because we're doing a lot of data, mass data, and those 50,000, I burned through them within the first or
Very
second
quickly.
day.
For sure.
So I'm like, well, how do I pay more? So then they obviously upsell you to like the bigger package, and to the point where I got to spend a couple $1,000 a month just to run to see who has had litigators. I mean, I'll tell you something. So I haven't access to the whole database, so that's why we created the service. And again, we just paid money for it, and
that is really cool.
And that is definitely a golden nugget, guys. I mean,
So I'll
free.
tell you something though. So the top
Yeah.
person in 2018 had 20 lawsuits filed.
20 lawsuits
20
filed.
filed, yeah.
Wow.
Wow.
That was the top litigator in the United States
So
last
this is
year.
a free service, guys. There's no reason to not use this. So what was the link again?
Litigationscrub.com.
Litigationscrub.com. We'll probably drop it in here, but you can just upload your list, put it against there, and make sure you don't get in trouble because there are professional people that do this apparently.
Yes.
There
Yeah.
you go.
Like
that is
ambulance
awesome.
chasers, but
And
No,
it's
there's
free.
There's now like classes of it for it too.
wow.
Awesome. Is there any other service that isn't charging like you guys are to do that?
I don't believe
Yes.
so. I don't think so.
There you go.
Yeah, we were paying the fee for ourselves anyway, so we just thought we might give it to everyone
Yeah, we still pay the
To
fee
keep-
though.
yeah.
We still pay
I
the
see.
to keep
Okay.
everyone.
I just have access to
Oh.
the entire database now. We still cover it. We're just part of doing business. I mean,
Right.
Yeah. Well,
Very
thank
cool
you so
tool.
much for
Yeah.
sharing that. That's an awesome gift. I love it. Okay, so make sure we drop all those whenever you get a chance.
links.
Okay.
Just all the links and stuff too. And if they have any questions, obviously. But guys, please make sure that you drop any questions that you have so we can make sure that we answer them live. But if we don't get to your question, just know that after the show, whenever we get a chance, while they're flying back to Phoenix, because they're going to fly out right after this, they'll start answering the questions for you just in case if you have any specific ones. So now that we talked about batch skip tracing, which is huge and which I really love, because of course it's in bulk, right?
Correct.
And we covered the cost, Propelio,
18
18
cents.
cents. That's a promo code for today. And for how long you're gonna have that? Forever.
It's up with it. It's up there. We're not taking it down.
Okay, cool. All right, so then now do we just go into, we've covered the channels that y'all do right now,
Yes.
which mainly your best one is text messages,
Yes.
right? So how much do you actually spend a month on that now?
So
Just texting.
Just texting.
Just texting.
About 3 to 5 thousand.
Thousand.
Yeah.
Okay. So how
We're
about,
sending out a lot of messages though.
okay.
We're sending out a lot of messages.
And are you all split testing within each of these mediums, of these marketing mediums that you're doing? Or are you split testing between like RVMs versus texting versus direct
Yeah, all
mail?
of it is tracked in our CRM.
Okay.
Okay.
All of it is tracked in our CRM. As far as, so the way we do it, remember I mentioned like we throw everything in one bucket, and it just goes through all the funnels and the texting and the RVM and the cold calling, and then we actually track the leads once they become leads in our system, and we, let's say, get a contract. Then we track back to which list they came from. Whereas I know a lot of people do it the reverse way.
It was too complicated for us.
When it kind of got to scale, that's why it got complicated.
So do you do it at the same time though? Like let's say you release a list, so you're gonna have cold callers calling the same day they get a text message and a voicemail? Or are you doing it, you separating it?
So because it's like a big bucket, they hit it whenever they hit it. Honestly, it's very hard to manage at that point. I mean, that's why it's, they could potentially get a phone call and a text message. Sometimes what I do is I try to actually reverse the list. So go from, let's say, cold call from down to up, and then text from up and down.
So you do text, RVMs, code calling. Right
Yeah.
now that you've obviously split tested, but also done the cost, which one's cheaper per lead?
Texting is the cheapest.
Cheapest,
Our RVM is
okay.
right up there with texting.
How much is the RVMs with your service that you have?
2.5 cents.
2.5 cents.
For successful drops.
For
Per successful drop.
drops.
Yeah, and
Yeah.
not a lot of. I mean, obviously, if you upload the list, it's only going to drop to cell phones, and it's going to drop to cell phones that don't have full mailboxes.
I see. So that's what differentiates an actual successful drop is for them to actually hear it or for them to actually get into their
For them
voicemail
to
box.
actually
Get
get
to
into the mailbox.
I
Yeah.
see. Okay.
And there's actually like two different kinds of RVMs, and I don't think a lot of people are very familiar with it. So if you want to kind of explain that.
Yeah, so like, a service like Slide Broadcast is the type of system where it's going to like initiate a phone call, two phone calls at the same time. So there's one first phone call goes to, let's say, your phone, and then it hangs up, and the second phone call goes right after it, and because the first phone call tied up the line, the second one goes to voicemail. there's a lot of legalities with those as well. And if the phone call like rang, your phone rang, then it's considered. I mean, a lot of people say that it's not legal. The true ringless systems should not ring the phone. So it's going to go through the back end of the servers and it's going to drop a voicemail in your phone without ringing.
So that's just one extra step for protection, right?
Correct, yeah.
Okay, very good. I don't think anyone's really explained it that way. So slide broadcast is the one where it rings and drops to your voicemail.
Yeah, slide broadcast, or I think message communications. Message communications is pretty cheap overall. Like they do a lot of like voice broadcasting as well. Then there's obviously voice broadcasting, something else that I've tested a lot. I don't personally use it right now.
Right.
I have done quite a lot of it.
Yeah.
Right now, like I said, my main marketing channels are SMS, RVMs, and cold calling.
Okay, very cool.
I mean, like I said, like we're like talking about direct mail. Direct mail potentially could, work in the near future. It's just not.
You read my mind. I wanted to touch on that very briefly because we, people have a lot of different opinions about direct mail, a lot of different opinions. So I do want you all to kind of say your experience in it. You said it perfectly. You said, it worked at first, or it has worked. Maybe it might work again. What do you think are the factors that contribute to it being better during some markets and not so better in others?
I think because like we do everything at mass currently, so I have a lot of people reaching out to me and saying, hey, I've been doing X amount of direct mail. I've had some people that call me, hey, just big players in the industry. Hey, I'm currently doing 150,000 direct mail pieces a month, and I need to get away from it because it's not performing anymore. So that's where we kind of get into like the skip tracing, and then we go with them on how to maximize that skip trace data, because like I said, skip tracing is expensive. So if you can, it doesn't make sense, at least for me, to just let's say cold call it. It just doesn't make sense because you're skip tracing at 18, let's say 20 cents, and it's expensive data. So that's why I just alleviate my costs for the skip tracing, that's why I do texting and RVMs at the same time.
Right. So do you all find that, are you guys tracking what you're actually getting a return on each of these channels? Like with your key performance indicators, KPIs, we like to call them. Is this something that you're really, really tracking and that you can kind of give statistically to anybody who wants to use your services? Like, are you finding what the returns are?
Yes.
Yeah, we track everything. Again, goes into our Serum. Everything is tracked. Our cost per lead for like SMSs is between like $12 to $18.
That is amazing.
Yeah.
That's a
and
really good cost.
It depends the way that you want your leads to flow in. Like we have made it so we only have 3 or 4 responses back and forth as a seller. At which point, like we try to get on the phone call.
Say that again. So you're tracking how many times you really go back and forth before you can get them on the phone.
We're trying to minimize that because every time you send a text message out, it costs you.
Right.
So we're trying to minimize that and convert it into a lead as quickly as possible and hop on a phone call if they're not telling us that they're not selling or whatever it may be. If it's a viable lead, we try to get on the phone call with them.
Awesome. So is there if you don't have to give all your secrets away, but what are some of the is it really just what you're scripting in the text? Is it how you engage? What are the things you're tweaking to get that?
And there's a lot, and that's why I've literally modified it so many times. I've tried. There's people that we've gotten deals just over text messages, and there's people that don't want to get on the phone call.
Yeah,
we've had sometimes we get them as a lead, we qualify them, and the people, our acquisitions are trying to get them on the phone call. They're just text me, I don't want to talk.
Yeah. I've had a lot of leads like that too.
And some people just prefer texting and they don't want to get on the phone call. Everything just happens, hey, here's our credibility kit, here's our website, and everything via texting.
Yeah, we recently actually had a deal. The lady wouldn't even answer because we go look to take pictures for us at the property, and they wouldn't answer their phones to them. So I had to reach out actually to them and tell them that it was the Broadway property that they need a texter. And they ended up scheduling that via text, but she wouldn't answer.
That's something to consider. I think a lot of people sometimes approach a seller from the position of what they're good at.
Yeah.
Like I go knock on people's doors because I'm good in person. I can get that on person. Some people are like, oh, I'm better on the phone, but it's not about you really.
No.
It is about the seller. So having these tools and whatnot are just one extra tool in your belt in order to take a lead down.
Yeah, and it's so easy, like texting. I mean, it makes sense because like if I let's say text you or you, like you guys are gonna at least see the message. You may not respond, but you're gonna see the message. So that's why we have like even like for people that haven't responded, we text them again and again. I've had people I've seen personally text messages and like people respond the fourth time. They just happen to.
Yeah, I remember that conversation when I had with you, and you're like, Bettina, but think about it. If I send you a text, you're gonna see it whether you respond to it or not, right? Because it's gonna show up on your phone, and it comes on the screen rather than a voicemail. You don't see the entire message, and I'm like, that's so true.
And not just that, it's like if an email, right? I look through the senders, right? Because that's what you can see.
Correct.
You very rarely can see what's on it. In a text message, you're going to be looking through, and you're going to be like, I don't know this. It catches your eye, so don't take that for granted. That's a huge way to get some leads.
Yeah,
So,
compare that with direct mail, though. I mean, a lot of people just like you mentioned, like when you go to the mailbox, you throw away everything before you even get in the house. Everything looks.
I never see your mail, anybody. If you're mailing me, I'm like, out. Unless it's handwritten from my grandma.
I mean, that's wasted money. It's 50 cents a letter.
Yeah.
And texting is.
So for you, listing it from top to bottom. So texting is your best channel. What's the second?
RVMs.
RVMs. As far as an ROI, but cold calling obviously generates a lot more leads.
Okay.
So ROI versus getting leads, that's a huge difference. Yes. A lot of people don't realize you're looking at your return on your investment for the cost and the time you're putting into something versus how many you're getting out of it.
Correct. And with our RVM, the way I set it up is there's multiple ways of setting it up. You can send an RVM out and get, let's say, X amount of leads. The way we've set it up is that we're trying to minimize it based on like everything goes through Gmail, it gets filtered out, and only like the leads come in.
So let's go ahead and start asking some questions. We actually got quite a bit, which is awesome. Thank you guys. Continue to post some of your comments and questions down below. Okay, and so before we do that, we're going to go ahead and take a break. So we'll be right back.
The Propelio Academy, an all-in-one education resource for training in wholesales, subject to wraps, short sales, flips, rentals, BRRRR, property management, and more. Go to propelio.com/academy to get your scholarship today. Propelio.com. What does Propelio offer? Lead generating websites, access to true MLS comps, off-market lead lists, and deal alerts. Get them all today at propelio.com.
All right, guys, thank you so much for staying with us on this because this is such a great show. We're talking about leads and a lot of other stuff that is involved in it. So we're going to be pretty much wrapping it up, and then we have a question. Then we're going to start getting into our Propelio fan questions. So go ahead. I know you were talking about something during break.
So the way that you were mentioning, you have to figure out the way the seller best responds.
Right.
So, and he mentioned the fact that we try all three different cold calling, text message, and RVMs. And the reason we do that because the sellers are going to respond a different way. And just because I texted you doesn't mean you're going to become a lead, but maybe you respond to a cold call. Mm-hmm. So the data is the most expensive thing that we get as real estate agents or as real estate investors. Mm-hmm. So utilizing that in all three sorts for the channels is, I think, best.
Yes, okay. That's a little golden nugget. I'm just gonna make him give you one, and I'm gonna force the golden nugget because that kind of wraps into my other question. Annie's right. It's about really figuring out who your seller is and how they best communicate. So you have to hit them on all channels for it to really convert a lead. So data is expensive, as she said, very expensive. So if you aren't maximizing putting it out there and getting the return on the lead, then you're really not doing yourself any good in the industry. So it's really easy for someone to say, gosh, I've been doing ringless voicemails and I'm just not getting anything. Well, have you tried texting? Have you tried something else? Mm-hmm. So with that being said, kind of my last question for me anyway, and hopefully it'll help everyone else is, we always ask, what's your best lead source, your best conversion? Well, there's factors that go into that, right? There's the cost, and there's your ROI, and there's also just in terms of your quantity. So with all of those things considered, what do you find is the best in terms of time it takes down to take a lead, right? So if you've had to touch them so many times before you get them, what is the best avenue in that aspect in terms of time conversion of a lead?
RVMs.
RVMs are the fastest for you?
I would say hands down RVMs.
Do you have any idea of why that might be?
Only because once they call in, you pretty much know that they're either a lead or they're not. There's some that are iffy, like you're not sure because they just left their name, please call me back. That's still technically a lead. Like they've taken the time out of their day to give you a call. But the people that actually leave their name, number, address, absolutely everything, like I'm looking to sell, I need to get out as quickly as possible, that is a lead. And it took you, like my voice is the recordings of everything, so.
I do the same. Female voices make a big difference.
Yeah, they do. So being the fact that you're recording that and then just scheduling it out, your leads just start coming in.
Right. That's good. Very good tip. So even though texting is one of their favorite and best, RVMs are the lowest time conversion. So that's just a little bit of a forceful golden nugget.
Okay, so let's start getting into some of these questions. So Sonia.
Out from your home
Sonia.
area, right? From Phoenix?
I actually met her at your guys' event in
Yeah,
Phoenix.
awesome.
Yay.
See Propelio bringing people together.
Right?
Yeah.
So she's asking, what is your best return?
Texting is our best
which
from
I
an
think-
ROI
yes.
standpoint. Yeah,
From
absolutely.
an ROI. Do you find that your return on ROI is probably the heaviest thing you look at, right? You want your cost per, lead and return to be the lowest. So for you,
correct.
that identifies best.
Yeah,
Very
and
cool.
it generates obviously a lot of leads for us. So yeah, I mean, ROI is extremely important.
Yeah, of course. Absolutely.
So we have a question over from YouTube from Brutus Empire. What kind of
That's a
list
good question.
do the title companies sell?
So actually, every title company will be able to provide a list. Most title companies will be able to provide a free list for you. What they're able to provide, it depends on the data that they have. So I would just say sitting down with someone at your title company, asking them all the questions, you'll be able to find out what they can give you for free, if anything, because I know that at least in Phoenix, we're able to get free lists. And then if they're not free, how much would it cost for you to get the data that you need?
Yeah, and just to add something, because I've actually worked with a lot of title companies actually the past couple of days. So just getting to know how they work on the back end, they have the same type of contracts that let's say you can go and get. They have, let's say, 20,000 monthly commitment to be able to get X amount of data per month. So that's the same data that we're able to get. That's what we are basically doing in April. And we're actually negotiating for the title company to basically sign a contract with us to get data through us, even though it's
Interesting. So
Yeah.
the title companies are using you.
we're negotiating
Soon.
to it. Yeah.
Y'all are smart. That's good. That's very good. Do you so with the title companies, because I think that's a huge untapped resource a lot of people don't
Correct,
use.
yeah.
Right.
I know one of my title companies is offering to give us some lists that they just pay for because people forget that they've got their quotas, like you said, that they have to reach, and you can be a service
Correct.
to them. So ask and sit down and have that conversation.
They pay for it. It's just that they give it a lot of times for free too.
Exactly. So if you're working with different title companies that give you different lists, do you then, obviously, if you get a deal off of their list, go with them? Is that
Honestly,
your trade-off?
we don't know where we pull them, but the close relationships that we do have with our title companies, we kind of just throw our contracts whatever we see fit, because
Right.
we know what each title company is good and great
Right.
at. So that's the bucket that we are putting our
Very good.
contracts
And you know
in.
what? And I have a question because I know I asked this in the beginning. So initially it was tax defaults. So that was your best resource. How about now? I mean, now that you've kind of
Yeah.
done everything, what is your best avenue
Lead
that you go-
source, maybe, right?
Yes.
Lead actual source.
Yeah.
There's all kinds of lists. I mean, like obviously high equity is a huge list in Arizona. I mean, non-owner occupieds are non-owner occupieds in Arizona. There's about 234-ish thousand people. So that's a big list to hit. I mean, obviously the niche lists. We go after niche lists. Code violations is a good list for us. The problem in Phoenix is it comes in a PDF file format. So by the time we send it to our Excel guy to decode it, put it in Excel, skip trace it. It takes a little bit of time, so there's a little bit of a lag.
So do you kind of hit all of them, or do you say, okay, if it has 3 of those things, then we send it to only those and ditch the rest?
Because
Or
we
do you
run
s-
out of data, so we hit all of them.
Wow.
And like I said, we
everything.
put them in a bucket, and then we figure out later once they're in the Serum and once we get a contract, what list they actually came from.
Yeah, and you all do a lot of stacking, is that
Yeah.
right?
We do,
Right.
yeah.
We do the same thing. So it's about so really what we're kind of learning from you guys is really filtering out the quality of the lead source and the stacking against them, meaning if they're on code violations and their water was shut off hey, that's probably a distressed seller, right? But the other side of that is obviously then what do you do with that lead? So that's huge on all of them. But
Yeah.
I think we have more questions.
Yes. So another question from John George Alvarez. What's the name of your software? What does it include? What's the startup cost? And what's the monthly cost?
Which one?
So for
Yeah, which one?
So I'll just mention, so the text message, there's a little bit of things, we're modifying some things with the text software. So like as far as the RVM, it's $49 a month. There's two plans, $49 a month, 2.5 cents a drop. There's no monthly commitments, cancel anytime.
Okay.
And then there's like $19 bucks a month. It's 4 cents a successful drop.
Unsuccessful. And so for batch skip tracing, what does that look like for them?
18 cents.
No monthly
No monthly commitments.
Nothing.
Nope.
No startups.
Nope.
Limits.
What's your turnaround for whenever
Usually
you...
during the day, a couple of hours.
Okay, that's awesome.
Minimum is 50.
Okay.
Correct.
Right. So you guys were talking about if you're one-off, you're probably not the best service. But
Yeah,
50
I can
easy.
theoretically pull any data, but it's just
Right.
we're focused more on the bulk. And
Hence
the
the
batch
term
side.
batch. But 50 leads is easy to get, guys. That's
Yes.
super easy to find. So
For
that makes
sure.
it worth it. They want to know what CRM system you use.
We currently use Investor PO. However, our other partner Jesse, he's building out a CRM for himself, which we kind of fell in love with as well. So then we've taken that on, the three of us as well. So
Is it
So you're
Podio
building
based?
that.
it's Podio based, yes.
Okay.
So
Yeah.
you're building that too.
Yes.
I'm
So
telling
that's
you, all
another-
the best systems. Someone's like, I built
add
that.
it.
And I'm like, of course you did.
Yeah,
Of course.
Yeah, and there's a lot of great systems out there.
Yeah.
It's just sometimes you want it done a certain way,
Right.
and it doesn't allow you to. So that's why let's just kind of get
Yeah.
our own. And
Awesome.
Okay, so next one is Jeremiah. So on the text message software, is there a limit on how many texts you can send at once?
there's a lot of things that go into it, but I would say that theoretically, no. You could really get around any kind of limits. And let's say if you're using, let's say Twilio, I'd say Twilio you can send between 200, let's say 300. You want to max it out 400 texts per day per phone number. But it also depends a lot on the rate that you're sending it at. So let's say you want to limit one message every, let's say 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 seconds. So just to space it out, because what happens is on the back end, Verizon and AT&T and T-Mobile, when they see the same message going to the multiple subscribers, they can very easily shut that phone number source off and prevent it from going to any more subscribers. So that's where you want to
Be careful.
Find the balance and be careful.
Yeah.
What I like about your guys' services is you're very conscious and aware of the legality and what that tipping point is before you get shut down. So y'all have experimented enough to bring that kind of value to a lot of people. That's
Just
good
this
to
morning,
know.
actually. This morning.
Did you get shut down?
One of our other accounts got shut down, and
See?
I got it back up and working.
You
within
learned by
half an hour.
experience, right? These guys have trial and error for you guys to figure
Thank
out.
God I have even the team on the back end, because I just sent a couple of messages and he got it back up and working, everything.
Yeah.
So, but it's definitely, we've definitely broken a lot of limits, so a lot of systems that we've used and figured out what those limits are on them.
And
Yeah.
we're grateful for those.
Yeah. But for the text message machine, there's no limits to it. I think you went a little bit too far deep, but there's no limits to
Yeah,
it.
you
Like,
can
can you
theoretically
send 1 to 1,000?
It's
It
your
doesn't matter.
But you just want to be careful about
How
many you're doing.
we go
Good.
over it. I mean, you can theoretically send a lot more. It's just there are some limits per phone number. So let's say you want to buy 5 phone numbers, you could potentially send 1,000. You want to buy 10 phone numbers, you want to send
Right.
2,000.
So it just depends.
Correct.
That's our favorite answer in real estate, is it depends.
It depends.
Oh, this is my husband, actually. I was hoping he was watching because I was telling him how much of a data nerd he is. So you wanted to know what you meant by the RVM leads getting sent to Gmail and that they're somehow filtered. Can you kind of elaborate on that?
Sure. I'll talk to you actually later about it as well. But just the Cliff Notes version of it is we drop an RVM. It goes into our voicemail system, call tools. From there, it goes to Gmail. And I use the filters in Gmail to be able to filter out any kind of response that I do not want to see in my CRM.
What kind of filters in Gmail? Is it going to your
Just
inbox?
just regular Gmail filters, yeah.
Interesting.
And then from there, Zapier picks up the conversation based on whatever is left. And it
My
shoots
brain's
it to-
going super excited.
It shoots it to our CRM. And again, the problem is because we're dropping about 120,000 RVMs per month now, and X amount of people call me. It's a lot of people that are calling in. Not a lot of people are, a lot of people are going to say, hey, take me off your list. I'm not selling my house. How did you find me? Those types of responses. I just want to filter them out. So our lead manager, Sonia, only sees the responses that I want her to actually get. Because at the same time, it's just wasting her time and filtering through all of them.
And boggles down the CRM as well.
Yeah, I'd imagine. I think that's a big problem that we have as well. It's like, well, you don't want everything coming into your CRM because then you're just spending hours filtering out the bad stuff. So that's just one buffer you put in place before it goes into your CRM.
Correct. And I can actually go a step further to like where, once it goes to Gmail, it can actually initiate a phone call to our acquisitions. So it only initiates, let's say 10 to 15 phone calls per day, whatever, based on how many leads we have, and they only are talking to actual RVM leads.
So you're basically setting up Zapier through Gmail. Is that how you're doing that?
Yeah, but there's another system called Drip you can set up on top of that where it actually initiates a phone call to the
We might have to take this off camera. That's honestly one of the more creative strategies or little things that people have even mentioned. So, man, sorry guys, he's like filling gaps in my own business. So, awesome questions, really great questions.
This is such a great show, guys. Thank y'all so much. Any final thoughts?
Or anything you guys want to plug?
Yeah, any plugs that y'all want to share?
I know we're Jesse.
Yeah, there you go.
No, he's actually recording some like videos we're trying to wrap up like our kind of like an academy that we have coming out in April 1st. So he should be recording actually some videos today. So
awesome.
We're just
May
I said,
1st or April 1st?
May 1st.
All right.
Yeah,
May 1st.
Yeah, so we're just like I said, we're just getting a couple of beta users just so we can to make sure we have everything ready and make sure we're covering all the bases for everybody and just put out a good product.
How about REI Squad? I mean, is that where I know you have a Facebook group too, right?
So REI Squad is just pretty much the umbrella of what we have. It's the three of us that are in there, and we're trying to build a community more so as just branding ourselves. We want people to be involved in that.
Yeah, we have a lot of different kind of people even in our coaching that are even helping us with, we try to help them, they try to help us, like just in our Phoenix community. So
that's kind of about. So what's the best way for people to get a hold of you?
Facebook, Instagram.
Yeah.
Say contact me instead of him.
Well, we hear you're like the data guy and behind the scenes on that, but you run the company and everything. Is that correct?
Yeah, she literally runs the wholesale company. I have maybe like a 10% like involvement in it currently.
Awesome.
Yeah, he's the data side. He's the REI.
Yeah, I spend my time with like talking to developers and like throughout the whole day.
Awesome. Very, very cool. Well, and also just a reminder on the giveaways.
Yes.
It's right. So if you share this to groups, to your friends, maybe send it in a message, email it to somebody is a really great way to get traction if you think they might benefit from some of these services, but also just some of the information kind of on some of the successful leads and the way that they're converting them. Most shares, they're going to go through the comments and good questions you'll go through and get in contact with you to get one of these awesome hats.
Yes.
So how about a plug from you, Casey?
Yes, so I'm in Dallas-Fort Worth area. I'm looking to buy houses, y'all. So if you want to partner on something or bring me a deal, please, I'm buying. Legit buying. I can close in 5 days. So you can reach me at Casey@RoundGroveProperties.com or shoot me a message on Facebook, Casey Della. I'm easy to find.
So we may have a deal we're working on like a 9-deal like portfolio here.
Do
in
some
Dallas,
deals over here? All right,
That's
we're going to take this off camera. Very cool.
And guys, my name is Bettina Hernandez from the San Antonio market. If y'all have any fix and flips over there, we're also buying. We're looking for quite a bit more properties that we want to flip. So send them to me on Facebook, Bettina Hernandez, getsemanyhomes.com, at gmail.com, I'm sorry. And then on Instagram, Bettina Hernandez Official. And then please, guys, don't forget to continue to share, like, heart, continue putting your comments and questions down below. And also, I want to do some Propelio plugs, of course. We're so grateful that they're able to bring us out. And then, of course, now y'all are sponsors. So just keep a lookout on seeing y'all at events, right? Yep. And so all over the Propelio stuff. But Propelio.com, guys, if y'all don't know, if you're new to Propelio, there is an academy. They do CMAs. They have so many lead sources. That's something y'all actually revealed that y'all use.
We use it all the time.
Which is awesome. And they have an event, guys, coming up May 14th in Grapevine at Palace Theater
at 5 p.m. I'm going to be there. I know a lot
Are
of
you
our
coming
propel-
this time?
Yes.
I'm so excited.
Yes, I'm going to be there. So I am super excited, guys, to see y'all, to meet y'all. Again, to watch, replay, #replay, and then tomorrow I'll be on again covering a lot of these golden nuggets just in case y'all did not get to watch the entire thing, but I still encourage everybody to watch all the shows. So thank you again. Y'all have an awesome day, and y'all be blessed.
Thank you.
Propelio TV is sponsored by Batch Skip Tracing, CreativeCashflow.com, Noble Mortgage and Investments, and Life and Air.
Hey everybody, I'm Ryan with Propelio. If you like what you saw, please subscribe. Turn on those notifications and stick around for more. We have tons of content like this all over our channel. So if you want to learn more about real estate investing, stick around, watch Propelio TV, and we'll see you later.